Great to be joined by Villanova head coach Jay Wright. Coach, thanks for giving us a few minutes today. How you doing?
Glad to do it, guys. Good to talk to you.
It's exciting times. It's draft week. We'll obviously get to coaches versus cancer in a second, but we wanted to congratulate you. Another student athlete being drafted. Sadiq Bey going in the draft this week, joins 8 other Wildcats currently in the NBA. How proud are you when you see them realize their dream?
I'm probably just happier for them than proud. I really the pride comes from the kind of people they are. The guys that are in the NBA. I like, we take pride in how they conduct themselves on the floor, off the floor, how they stay connected to each other. That's where we really take our pride. That when you see them reach their dreams and be drafted like that, it's their hard work. So you don't take as much pride in that as you do just really feel a great deal of happiness for them and their families. It's really nice. It's really nice to see them reach their dreams.
Coach, when you see somebody like Sadiq make it to the NBA, realizing their dreams, it's only the beginning of the next step. It's about community, and it seems like you and your players continue your relationship beyond the days when they are at Villanova. What's it like for you to see that the community continues even beyond when they leave Villanova?
Yeah, Jeff, that's what we take pride in, because they they come here, like most high school players, they're stars. They've had a lot of attention on themselves individually, and we try to talk to them about being a part of something bigger than yourself, being a part of a community here at Villanova, being a part of a program that's had a lot of great players before you, and to understand that can actually make you your best self. And we take a lot of pride in seeing them stay connected as a community, but also stay connected with their teammates, the managers, the former assistants. That bond and that network, it's a lifetime connection, is something we're really proud of.
You talk about being part of something bigger than themselves, and there's no greater example for what you all do than what Philadelphia has done in their efforts with coaches versus cancer. You've obviously been involved for 19 years now. I've seen you in writing and print tell stories about when you were approached by coaches Martelli and Dunphy, who we've been able to speak to in recent weeks, about building up a Philadelphia version of coaches versus cancer. Can you talk about what you've all been able to do and what that means to you?
Yeah, Jay, I'm such a small part of that. I've been part of it from the beginning because of Fran Dunphy and Phil Martelli. I'm so in awe of what they have been able to do and what they continue to do. But I remember back in the beginning when we just had, the breakfast wasn't that big, and we actually didn't have the breakfast in the beginning. We had a small golf tournament, and those guys just kept building it and coming up with new ideas, and to build the preseason luncheon, the breakfast, the gala. We didn't have the gala in the beginning, the ball. We didn't have that. And to watch Phil and Fran and their wives really build that. I remember we had no corporate sponsors, none. And Fran and Phil set up a luncheon with Fred DeBona, who was the CEO of Blue Cross at the time. And we were going to ask him to be our first corporate sponsor. We went to lunch in his office up on the top of I think it was the Comcast, but I'm not sure. But and he committed to us $50,000 as a corporate sponsor, and also told us that he had cancer, which he, shortly after that died of cancer. But he started the corporate sponsorship, and Phil and Fran, that was their idea, that if we're going to grow this thing, we got to do it with the corporate community in Philadelphia. And There's nowhere in the country where the 6 Division I head coaches all work together. And now Steve Donahue's taken that over as the leader. And it speaks so much of Philadelphia basketball, Philadelphia tradition, Big Five basketball, and that's really strengthens our Philly 6 coaches versus cancer.
You talk about the growth of everything you've done, and obviously the annual breakfast is held after Selection Sunday each year. And I saw a funny quote from you. You're talking about the challenges going in the day after with everything going on and fighting traffic in the city. And then you get to the event, and I saw you say, every single time I come out there and think this is the best thing I ever did, all this NCAA stuff, you realize it doesn't mean anything. That event, that thing is amazing. Can you talk about what it's like to be there with the families and the survivors at that event, and how that really brings it all home for what this is really about?
Yeah, you're right, Jason. I know. I swear. I know. I'll hopefully, if we get to do it this year, we probably won't. But the next year we do it, I'll probably feel the same way, because you're up all night the night before. When you're getting your info on the team you're going to play, you're making decisions about your travel, and you're doing your media, and and then you finally get home and you haven't seen your family all day. So you try to at least spend some time with your wife. Now you get to bed, it's like 1 or 2, and then you're getting up because you got to drive down to the Palestra from out here on the main line. And you're getting up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock, because I think we have to be down at like 7 or something. I don't know. And I'm, getting up in the morning. I'm like, this is crazy, man. What are we doing? And then you get down there, and it right away you meet the sponsors who have put so much into it. Then you meet all the survivors, and you want to meet the people that have been there, and then you hear about the people that just passed away, and you see the Philadelphia basketball community in really the height of basketball excitement in our country. The day after Selection Sunday, you're getting ready to start the tournament. Everybody's filling out their pools. Everything's about basketball, and then we really kind of shut that down and talk about this fight against cancer and really what's important in life. And this community we have, this Philadelphia basketball community, and this Philly 6 coaches community, it's so inspiring. And I always, my assistants always say, like, you got to be back by 10, we got a meeting. I wind up hanging down there talking to everybody. I usually get back 11, 12, and they know it now. And I just say, like, man, it was just such an amazing morning, and it just keeps everything in perspective. And I think it's really helped us in our approach to the NCAA tournament, like to start it that way and really think about the survivors, the fighters, the people that are fighting cancer, and not like this is life or death whether you win an NCAA tournament or not.
You've gone through a season at that point, playing against other of the Philly 6 coaches and their teams, fighting like cats and dogs. What's it like to then come together and do this common cause and be an example for your own student athletes and be part of this, if no better word than a fraternity of coaches?
It really is. It is a fraternity. It's a brotherhood. And Coaches versus Cancer and the fight against cancer is a big part of that connection. The tradition of the Big Five is a big part of that connection too. Our respect, all of our respect for Philadelphia basketball and all the great coaches that have come before us and great players. And I don't know about the other guys, but like I have a love-hate for the Big Five games. I love the games. I love the tradition. I love that it's in Philly. I love being a part of the Big Five tradition. But I hate going against, when you win, you feel good, kind of relieved, but you feel bad for the other guy, because it's a local game and you know how much they mean. And then when you lose, you feel terrible, So it's a really weird feeling. So once those games are over, once we've played all the Big Five games, I kind of breathe a real sigh of relief and feel like, all right, that's over. They're my brothers. I can root for those guys. Because before that, I don't want them to do anything well because I want to win, but as soon as the games are over, I feel like, all right, good. Now I can root for them to win their conferences. I can follow their games. I know we got coaches versus cancer coming up. If they're going in the tournament, we're rooting for each other. So it's by the time we meet for the breakfast, it's a really good feeling. We're all behind each other. It was funny one year. I think it was 16. At the breakfast, Steve Donahue and Penn had played against Kansas early in the year. They played him a great game, and Steve said, "Hey, if you guys could get matched up against Kansas in a Final 8 with a chance to go to the Final 4." And for me at that point, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking about next game. But he said, "If you need help," and by the time we got to that Kansas game, I remembered it. And I called him, and he was a great help in scouting and preparing for them. And we talked about it at the breakfast, and that's what I remembered.
So, Coach, now you're getting ready for your new season. How much do you look forward, even after all this time? How much do you look forward to the beginning of each season?
Probably more than any season we've ever been a part of. The anticipation for this year is the greatest because we've just been away from each other from so long. We've been away from it, playing games, since March. I think it was March 13th, if I remember correctly. It was the day we came home from New York City, and we were supposed to play that night against DePaul in the Big East tournament. And, we've been away from it for so long, and the chance to just play another team and to really start the season, and know that we're gonna get there because there's been so much question of whether we're even going to play. I know the guys are really, really excited, and there's a anxiety about still, like, are we going to pass all of our COVID tests before we get there? Are we going to be able to play? Is our opponent going to pass their tests? Are they going to get to play? So I think once we get there, if we get to play that first game, we're going to be thrilled like we've never been for the start of a season.
How do you prepare? We've seen you talk about that strain that you mentioned of the additional concerns. It's not just the X's and O's on the court. It's, did the test come back? Are they eligible to play? Are they unrestricted? As a coach, how do you prepare for the unexpected? And how do you prepare your student athletes to, everything ended so abruptly last year. Change just happened. How do you prepare them for what could happen this season since nobody really knows?
Well, one of the things in our program that's a core value and a mantra is that we control our attitudes, and that's all we really control. We've always talked about that here, and this is the greatest example that we don't have control of our lives. God's got control of our lives, and we never thought about this pandemic. There's a number of times we tell our guys, there's no reason to worry. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, because usually the things that you worry about never happen, and the things you never thought of do happen. And this is the greatest example. Like, none of us ever said, well, what if there's a pandemic, and we can't play next year? What are we going to do? We never thought of that. We worried about, what if I don't get enough shots, or what if this recruit comes in and takes my spot? None of those things have happened, but the pandemic has, So what we control is our attitude and how we approach every day. And that's really what we're trying to do here every day is just, we practiced already this morning. And, we're grateful we got it another day in, and we look forward to tomorrow. And if we get an opportunity to practice again tomorrow, we're going to be grateful. We're going to really take advantage of it. And we're really living it day to day because we have learned from experience that it can change any day. So we're really trying to value the precious present and take advantage of every opportunity we get to be on the court together.
Coach, every team takes on its own personality. If you had to pick one word to describe this year's group, what would it be?
I would say unselfish. A very respectful, team-oriented group. I really like, almost to a fault. It's one of the things we're talking to the guys about. That they're almost almost, and this is a good thing, but too coachable. They want to do the right thing. They want to do what we're asking them to do. Not sometimes they don't make the right play because they're doing what we told them to look for. And if it's not there, they do it anyway to try to please us. They got to be a little more aggressive and free-minded, but definitely a really unselfish group.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate the time you gave us. We thank you for everything you're doing for Coaches versus Cancer and raising awareness in the city. Wish you the best of luck with the season going forward, and look forward to hopefully catching up with you going forward in the future.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for supporting Coaches versus Cancer. We all really appreciate it.